I'm going to do chapter 3, number 27. It says, a tennis player standing 12.6 meters from the net hits the ball at 3 degrees above the horizontal. To clear the net, the ball must rise at least 0.330 meters. If the ball just clears the net at the apex of its trajectory, how fast was the ball moving when it left the racket? So we're going to draw our picture first. We know that the horizontal distance is 12.6 meters, and this is the net, which is 0.330 meters high. And we know that this angle is 3.00 degrees. And the ball is going to be right here, and it says that it's its max point. So we draw our X and Y chart. Okay, we know that the acceleration in the X direction is 0, and we know that in the Y direction is negative 9.8 meters per second squared, and our positive direction for the Y is up, and for the X it's to the right. That's why it's negative for this acceleration. And we know that our final velocity for the Y direction is 0 meters per second, because it's at the max point, so at that, the velocity is 0. And we also know that this height is 0.330 meters, and this distance is 12.6 meters. So now we have 3 givens in the Y direction, so we'll solve for the initial velocity of the Y direction. So when we solve it, we get 2.5 meters per second for the initial velocity. Okay, now we can solve for the time. So the time is 0.13 seconds. And since the time on the Y direction is 0.13 seconds, we know that it's the same in the X direction. And now we have 3 givens in the X direction, so we can solve for the initial velocity over here, which is going to be the same velocity as the final velocity in the X direction, because there's no acceleration, so the velocity stays the same. So we get 96.9 meters per second. And now our table is full. So what we want to do is draw the vector. Basically, we're trying to find the velocity. So we have the velocity in the X and Y direction, so now we need to find the velocity at the diagonal. So that's going to be this value. So we have that this is 96.9 meters per second in the X direction and 2.5 meters per second in the Y direction. And we know that this is 3.00 degrees. So we can do the sine of 3 degrees equals 2.5 meters per second over x. So for x, we get 48 meters per second. That's our answer.